Okay, thank you very much. The topic have already been introduced, so don't mind the plenty writing. So it's just observability that we are talking about. Forget about everything else. So you can just pick the last part. That's why I let observability at the last part. So observability. Okay, so we are just talking about observability in your application, and particularly since it's a PyCon. So I'm being forced to talk about Python. So who am I? So I'm Francis Billa. I'm from Ghana, but I live in the Netherlands. I started my career, so I've been into engineering for 7 years and plus. I'm still counting. Let's hope where I'll get to. So I started my engineering career with Morgan Stanley and moved from there to currently working at Shell. So Shell, I work in a very interesting entity in Shell called Shell Recharge. So those who have heard of Shell Recharge, so we are into the EV market. We provide electric vehicle charge points to people to charge electric cars. And it's an interesting, evolving field that is really coming out. So I really love my company and I love working on such emerging technologies, and it's really nice. So particularly, I've been into backend engineering and infrastructure. So in Morgan, I was an infrastructure engineer, but currently I'm more into backend, but I sometimes do full stack when the job calls me to do. Yeah, so apart from that, so I'm the lead for Python Ghana user group, and I founded Python user group in Cape Coast. So that was why I became part of the Python community. So I've been serving the Python community since my days in the university, and I encourage people to also do so. You can join the Python community and also contribute. It will really help. Yep, I like playing football a lot. I like teaching, yeah, most of the time. So that is something brief about me. Oh, okay. So what do we have today? So today, as the topic goes, we are talking about observability. We go through with just a simple overview of observability. We talk about the pillars and some achievements that we've attained with the introduction, which is observability. Then we see what's next and what my long talking will get into. All right. So history of observability. I hope it's not a boring history, but I think currently with this evolving technology scene that we are in, we currently, all the systems are currently adapting what we call the microservices. All right, that every company is trying to really dive more into microservices. So earlier, when a company would just have one services for everything. But currently we have different services, that is companies, we try to really break down our code into smaller components in order to make development very easy for us. So just try and picture like making a car. So that's why I put this image there. Thanks be to ChatGPT for generating such a nice image for me. Yeah, so just picture just making a car and a car having its own components. So these various components such as the engine, the tires and everything, all making up a car. Now, this is the same thing when you come to development or developing a system. So we have various services that made up a system. That is, if you pick a system that is a car, we have various services that make up a system. So all these systems, all these services, that's the tires that you see, the engine, everything comes together to form a car. So in currently thinking about how a system or a software system is and how it plays, so you think about its various components and how the various components are performing. Is it just that the various components are just there and you just don't keep an eye on it, or you really need to look into how your system are performing? So I always say software engineers, we are crafters. We craft our softwares. We just don't, we are not just being paid to just code and that's all, but we craft our software. And anybody that crafts something have a feeling that is attached to it. So you need to have a feeling attached to it. So that's why we have an eye on everything that we do. So even for a car system, you can see that we have sensors per all these components. That's the same thing applies to when you come to the software system, that you have a sensor or something to monitor all these various services that you have. And that brings us to our main topic, that is observability, that we are treating, to observe everything that is going on in your application. Earlier in our system of development, how we were doing things was we receive logs, and when we have any bug or something like that, we go and check the logs and really understand the log message. But where does it end? And where is the future of it? And what do we do with these logs? Okay, so let's move further from there. Okay, so you've built your application, now what? To be able to let the operation understand what is really going on. Operation just move forever. Software requirements just keep coming and it just keep changing. But how do you really adapt to the changes that come? How do you really meet operational requirements? And that is why you really need to keep an eye on it. As we said, using the car as an instance, you keep an eye on the car and what the car is doing. So in observability, we have three particular pillars of observability. You talk about the metrics, the logs, and tracing. So I think in part of my presentation, I'll go deep and we talk about what the metrics does, what the logs does, and what the tracing we do with the tracing. I think the familiar thing that we all know is the log, and maybe as the noun goes, tracing, so we know what traces is. So let's learn how to observe our application. So we have many telemetry coming through our application, or many logs coming through our applications. Our applications are giving us many signals. So what do? We collect our signals, right? So there are many tools that you can use to collect your signal or your logs. We collect our signals, so the telemetry. So the signals that we collect. After collecting our signals or our logs, we need to observe them to really see what is really going on or what is really happening in them. After observing them, what do we do on it? We act on them to come out with something from what we are acting on. And after that, we analyze it. You can analyze it to see what is really going on in the analysis, in your logs or the signal that you are receiving. I was just talking to Danny, who was the keynote, about my feeling of observability. Okay, initially with my career, when I was in the university, I was someone who was much interested into data. So I was going more into the path of being a data scientist than but my job forced me to be an engineer when I went to Morgan Stanley. So I was being forced to be an engineer instead of a data scientist. That's the field really determine what you're supposed to do. So I love data, and my feeling about data is always the insight that you get out of it. So I view the logs that I receive from my API or my application as the data I receive. And what can I do out of the data that I receive? I need to get an insight out of it. It's not just about just receiving the logs or receiving the data, but the insight that you get out of it. That's why you analyze it to give you something. All right. So in the beginning of our software journey, there was a particular gap that I usually used to see between the business side and we, the engineers, that the business people and the product owners really do not know what is really going on in the application system, or what. They really don't have an insight to what the application is doing. They don't understand the logs. It's we, the engineers, that understand the logs and what is happening. And the main purpose of the logs that we are receiving was just for debugging, or just to really notice what is really going wrong with our application, or our application is running successfully or not. But with the introduction of observability, there is now a closing of a gap between these two or three bodies, the engineering and the business people, that now, if they have a log, they are able to observe our system, or they're able to also have an eye into our system, they really know what is going on. They really understand, like, yes, this is how the engineers also feel. There's a particular point, okay, I think I'll talk about that one later in my slide that I usually do in my company and that I really enjoy. So here, I really want us to focus on the gap that observability have really tend to really close in when it comes to engineering, the engineering department, the security department, and the business department, and also the product department. That's what I really want us to focus on here. So you can see that it has observability have enabled collaboration between these different entities within a company or these different entities in an engineering process. It has also enabled us to help us in communication. So a very typical instance is I will just be there, normal work when a product owner will call you and be like, yeah, I've seen this thing in the logs. Why? What is happening? What is going on? It seems the logs doesn't look good today. Why, Francis? What is going on? Then you really need to go and check. But earlier, there wasn't anything of that sort for them to really check and come and communicate with us to really know what is going on. Also, logging is not, observability is not just really observing just the logs, but it has also moved currently further to a form of securing your application, observing your application to make sure your application is secure. How do you go further to make sure your application is secure? And this can be achieved through observability. So initially, our development process was just about developers just coding. We code, we test, we ship the code, we run it, we monitor it, operating, we should make sure it's operating, we optimize it. That's the developing process that was really going on. Currently, we see a paradigm shift in really how engineering is going, that is really evolving from just not really optimizing or shipping your code, but to helping you to secure your code. That is the further that we are going with observability, how we can secure our code. Moving further, just not about not securing, but we prioritize the security of our code. There is a particular part in that we usually do that I've really implemented in my company. So what we do on we try to really achieve was there was a problem that we are trying to fix. And the problem was like, how do we know if someone is hacking our system? And how do we kettle hacking on our system? And how are we able to detect it? So we had a whole lot of calls really discussing, oh, let's do this, let's implement firewalls, let's do this, let's do that. Yes, if you implement firewalls and everything, but how do you know your system is under attack? Yeah, so there was a strategy that we used. Okay, we now have this feature, the observability feature. So why don't we set a threshold on what you are doing? That we all know that, yeah, we are providing charge points and our customers are going to charge their cars. We know the expected charging rate that we are supposed to receive per day. That maybe a day, on a good day, in a business aspect, about 1,000 people are supposed to charge their cars just within Netherlands per a particular location. But what if all of a sudden you start getting about 10,000, 100,000 charging rates at the same time? That is a cause for concern. So that really introduces us to how for us to really use our observability to secure our system. So what we did then was just not to really observe to make sure we are getting our API calls or everything is just successful or not, or application is just running or not. But we went ahead, we set a threshold. If our application, our API, our endpoint is being called more than 100 times, did I say 100 times? More than 10,000 times. It should throw an alert that it's something critical, we should check. Maybe there's an attack going on. And we should really investigate what is really going on, that we are receiving that number of requests at that time. So that is times with observability, we did that. So also sometimes what we used to do is We also check if within a day, if our application is not receiving any request, or we are receiving requests less than 100, usually we set the threshold to 100, so we are receiving requests less than 100, then we can see that there is something wrong with the application. Either the application is down or something's really happening, so we need to really take a critical look. So that is something when you talk about securing your application, you can use observability to secure application. So we have many visibility that you can receive with your observability that you can do. So you can talk about the infrastructure metrics. You can check your logs, the code profile, database, message query, that all of them you can check. But let me go more practical, really into talking about we providing charge points and how we use our observability tools to really meet what we the engineers we need. So this is one of our charge points, our beautiful charge points that we have. So what we do is usually when someone charges a car in our industry, the EV industry, we have our own protocols that we follow. So we call something CDRs, which is the charge details records. So the CDRs comes in and we have this key that runs through the CDR. So these are the key that you see I'm filtering on at the side. That is the search for. It's called we call it an ID. So if you check these logs that you've seen, so you can see that we have different services on other side, and we have the logs on the other side. So you can see that the logs is actually running through from the start of a charging process to the end of the charging process. So in the start of the charging process, the person plug the charger into their car to make sure it's charging. And the end of the process is the person is supposed to get a receipt when they are done charging. So that is the process that this goes through. So with observability or with the logs, we are able to trace, to go through it one after the other, to know the journey that our engineering process will go through in order to achieve a customer to really achieve a customer successful charging. So that is the help of observability. And in here, one key thing to really do when you are really doing a good observability is to really get a key that it can help you to trace along through different services. Sometimes the mistake that people do is, though it's microservices that we are observing, but you can't see the channel that this process goes through when they are communicating with each other. But you can see here that with the help of this ID, which is passing through all the various services that we have, we can trace and see the journey of a session. So that is the help of observability. So we also go further with observability to form metrics. That's a dashboard for observing our application. So here we observe our successful process CDRs. That's our charge point. We observe our unsuccessful process. And we also observe our receipts produced per country for us to really know our performance per country. So sometimes the receipt is usually good for the business part, that the business will come to you and be like, how many receipts, how are we performing in this market? Are we really performing well in this market? And engineering have really improved that we can answer those questions to the business people now. And that's the communication and the gap that we've reached, we are able to really minimize with observability. Moving further, so we are able to receive alerts. So you can see this red alert on when there is something wrong with our application. So we receive alert. My time is almost up. Let me just run quickly through it. Okay. So this is just code snippets that I added on how to really observe. So in here, so we have just the creator that we put on top of our functions in order to observe. And you can see at the other side, we check for the log metrics invalid and log metrics when it's valid. So we are just pushing all of them in order to really check when something is successful or is not successful, to really observe everything. So quickly, how we do we provide these infrastructures, we use Terraform to really provide it, and we bind it in our code we bind it together in our Python code. We wrap it around inside our Python code. So there are many tools out there that you can use. Popularly, in my company, we use Datadog. That's why you see Datadog running through all my slides. So I don't work for Datadog, I work for Shell. So if you see Datadog running through my slides, that's the reason. So we use Datadog a lot, but there are many out there. Datadog is not free, 14 days free trial, but after 14 days you pay. So you can use all these tools, Grafana, Splunk, and everything. If you like AWS a lot, you can use the CloudWatch on AWS to also achieve that. Prometheus is also there, Dynatrace is also there, very nice. Okay, so something brief. So this is observability, and I hope someone starts observability today, and I hope I'm able to really encourage everyone on observability. Thank you very much. This is Francis, and I'm done.